Day, President Trump celebrating those victories. There was a special dinner at the White House this evening, the passage of the big, beautiful bill, and now the approval of the rescissions package. My first guest will be a guest at tonight's dinner. I'm pleased to welcome in Texas Senator John Cornyn today to Newsline. He's also a member of the Senate Finance and Senate Judiciary and Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Cornyn, good to see you back.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
All right, so now we have these wins, and Americans will start to see a lot of the benefits. And the rescissions package, you know, it did come down to the wire again. House got it through, but you guys had a late night the other night, 2:30 a.m. Tell us about what you are most eager to discuss with the president, to share with your constituents as far as these massive, massive cuts. We talk a lot about PBS and NPR, but there's also a lot of that foreign aid that seems crazy that it's been going on for so long.
Yeah, tonight's dinner is going to be specifically to celebrate the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, which of course avoided a multi-trillion-dollar tax increase, but it did so much more. It extended middle-class tax cuts to people who work for tips and people who work overtime. And it doubled the child tax credit. It made these provisions permanent. It created enhanced opportunity zones for more investment in blighted areas in our communities around the country. And I think people are going to be very excited about the details. They haven't heard too much about that yet because the press as the mainstream press has been doing what they always do, which is using the Democratic talking points and disparaging every aspect of the bill. But there's a good story to tell, and we will be telling it over the next few months.
Well, we look forward to that. And you are right when it comes to, for example, PBS and NPR. All of the legacy media let their heads go on and kind of claim they weren't biased. And, you know, the narrative that they're taking, Senator Cornyn, I want to ask you, because in Texas, there are rural places. They're saying it's going to be devastating for rural areas, as if, the Kool-Aid that they're selling, bias coverage, is something that, A, people want, or B, taxpayers should be footing the bill for. What's your reaction to that when they try to make that sort of a scare tactic and why they needed all this funding?
Well, there are plenty of alternatives to public radio and PBS, and maybe that wasn't the case at one point, but to me, there's a more fundamental objection, and that is the First Amendment protects the freedom of the press, but I don't think anybody should really wholly trust government-supported media organizations, and we don't need to do that. We've got $36 trillion plus national debt. And these cuts in this rescissions package are very modest, but we're told by President Trump and his administration that this is just the first of many. And with all the wasteful spending, as you pointed out, that we've been able to identify so far through DOGE and otherwise, we need to continue to do this. It's hard because it's much easier to spend money than it is to save money, but we have to do this to protect our financial integrity for the future.
Absolutely. I do want to get your reaction to the Epstein story, because there was a report from the Washington Post at 4 o'clock yesterday saying that there are no contacts, between Trump and Epstein. No credible allegation has emerged to connect Trump to any of Epstein's crimes. Yet Wall Street Journal goes on, President Trump right here on Truth Social says they printed a fake letter. He's saying they're not his words, not the way he talks. Those who know the president say that as well. And now he's threatening to sue them. They didn't have the letter, and they didn't print the letter. What is your reaction to them moving forward with a story like this, knowing that it could all be false and it's out there in the court of public opinion, Senator Cornyn?
Well, as we've discussed, there's many really important and exciting things happening now, just 6 months into the president's administration. And I basically think this is a sideshow. I trust President Trump, and I trust Attorney General Bondi to make the right call. But no one knows for sure what is in these files. There is a genuine concern about protecting innocent people and their privacy, whose names have been mentioned, who are not any of the people involved in the illegal or nefarious activities. So I'm glad to know that the Attorney General is going back to court to see if she can unseal some of the grand jury investigation, which is confidential by law, and hopefully that'll address some of the concerns so we can get on to more important things that that affect 350 million Americans, not just this.
Absolutely. All right. So when we talk about Americans, and you'll be talking about the One Big Beautiful tonight at the dinner with President Trump, you know, he's saying Jerome Powell, too late Powell, as he calls him, doing a disservice, could be saving the country $1 trillion as a member of the Senate Finance Committee. You know, this seems to be not just a war of words anymore, Senator Cornyn. Today, Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna says she is officially referring Powell to the Department of Justice. This is over that renovations project at the Fed. It's 2.5, I've heard $2.7 billion. Congresswoman Luna believes Powell lied to Congress last month when he said this. Let's play this exchange here.
There's no VPI dining room. There's no new marble. We took down the old marble. We're putting it back up. We'll have to use new marble where some of the old marble broke, but there's no new, there are no special elevators. They're old elevators that have been there. There are no new water features. There's no beehives, and there's no roof terrace gardens.
All right. So whatever they're doing, though, it's a big price tag. And if this does lead to some type of criminal investigation, do you think it would actually time out before his term ends, which is obviously next May? And President Trump says we're not going to move to just fire him. And some say he actually doesn't have the ability to do that with cause.
Well, I think Congress has a legitimate oversight responsibility when it comes to spending tax dollars, and the Federal Reserve is no exception to that. I think what the president would like and what I would like is to see the Federal Reserve take its foot off the brake of the economy so the economy can grow a little faster. Obviously, we're still dealing with the consequences of 40-year high inflation because of all the reckless spending by the Biden administration. Everything's roughly 20% or more higher in cost. It's a silent tax on the American people. So this is a familiar, if you look back at history, a familiar debate between an administration which would always like to see interest rates lower and a Federal Reserve that's trying to figure out how do we keep this specter of inflation from coming back. So oversight's good, and I expect the debate over interest rates and over the Federal Reserve's role to continue as it has for almost the duration of the existence of the Federal Reserve System.
Well, she's taking that oversight another step further today with this criminal referral over to the DOJ. So we will watch that play out. Senator John Cornyn, thank you for stopping by today, and enjoy the dinner tonight and the One Big Beautiful Bill victory. Thank you, sir.
I will. Thank you so much.
All right.